Hi everyone! Happy New Year! Happy 2023! I'm happy to see you here. And I wanted to kick off this year with a live conversation. So instead of just writing you some wishes, I really wanted to bring my wishes personally to you and in a very special form, because today I'm not alone. Today I invite a dear friend, Milagro, who is going to join me for this live, and we are going to talk a little bit about inspiration, because what I wanted to do is forget about all these to-do lists when you start your year. Forget about all this, what's the next steps, what do I have to do, what didn't work out last year, and just start this year with a little bit of inspiration. And this is what I wanted to bring with you with this live, and there will be more lives to come with wonderful women, wonderful stories, inspiration especially to change, because I know many of you and many of the people who connect with me are in the same exact situation of feeling stuck, feeling they're not in the right place of their life, but it feels too overwhelming to just even start to change something. So that's why I wanted to bring these stories, these conversations, because we all started small when it came to change. We all had our fears. We all needed courage. We all made some mistakes. And I think the best way to make the first step in change is to start with some inspiration, to start to connect with people who did already some steps, maybe the steps that you want to dare. So that's what this community is all about. That's what these coming lives are all about. And I see now Milagro, she's here. Let me see. How can I invite Milagro? Let's see if this works. Are you here, Milagro? Let's see. Request. Yes, go. Hello. Let's wait.
I think I'm there.
Yes. Happy New Year, Milagro.
Here, Yvonne. How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Where are you joining? Just to let our...
I think we have a little bit of delay.
Yes. No problem.
Which is a small town in the Argentinian coast right now. Very, very happy to have spent some time with my family during the New Year's. And very happy to see you. Where are you joining from?
Well, I'm in Brazil, as you can see from my clothes. It's rather hot here. So I think we are really, we are nearby, but I have always people joining from all over the place. So it's always nice to know where we are connecting from and where we're connecting to.
Totally.
And I just started already the live with this little introduction of, for me, what my intention is now with these live conversations, and there will be more conversations in the upcoming weeks, is to just give a little bit of inspiration and to give, because I think sometimes these starts of the year can be so tough and rigid. And it's like we started already with the big to-do list of, I want to accomplish this and this and this and this. And sometimes we, forget that one of the most important ingredients we get when we want change is inspiration, is connecting to other people who are maybe, outside of our box, because when we're stuck, we're usually surrounded by people in our box, people who do already the same thing, people who think the same way, people who act the same or a similar way.
And this can be very, fruitful when we are in the right place, because this encourages us, and it's really like this mastermind together. But when we feel we are not in the right place and we want to experience a little bit outside of it, it's rather tough. And I know this from my time in Brussels. When I was there and the career felt right, it was amazing connecting with all the like-minded people. But once something started to change within me, it was becoming more and more difficult for me, because I never saw someone who did something else there. I never saw someone who became an entrepreneur, who entered the social sector, who did their own ventures. So that's what I want to bring with these conversations, like these connections and ideas and stories of people who are maybe outside the box of where the people that are joining are right now. And also to demystify change a little bit, because it's such a big word, and when we're in this process, we think everyone has figured it out except us. Everyone has, the smart recipe, and change happens and you have clarity for the rest of your life. Just we don't. And I want to share a little bit and have this honest conversation that truly it's not like this. Change doesn't work like this. Luckily,
yeah,
because otherwise we would be done with our life right now. And
yeah.
So Milagro, I just want to, just for everyone who's joining, Milagro is a wonderful person, a psychologist from her background, who worked, let me get this right, in social public policy design. We will explain it maybe a little bit later. And then you went on later to have your formation at Amani Institute in social innovation management. That's where our connection comes in, because that was also my starting point of all my new ventures, my new life, and started some social ventures and came back to Amani Institute to be now the community manager. And basically what you're doing is connecting wonderful, inspiring people and organizations together for really bringing change into this world. So it's a wonderful, wonderful job. But I think you're the best to tell a little bit the story.
Thank you, Lord Yvonne, for this invitation. I hope because I heard you a bit broken, but I hope everyone can hear me okay. My internet was working really good, but I don't know what's happening now. So thank you a lot for this invitation, mainly because I also started the year thinking a lot about change, and because we think about this big topic when we start the year, and I think it can feel a bit too much sometimes. So having an honest conversation about it, I think it's going to help me even to organize my ideas and my projects for this year, because it's too much at this point and too much movement. And so thank you very much, because I feel I'm going to finish this conversation more organized with my ideas and my thoughts and my wishes. and about, I don't know what the first question was. It about what did I do with my career?
Yes, your career background. So we have a bit idea what was going on in the last years.
Cool. So I can grab the changing points in my career, and what was I doing before? What I was doing after? Why did I change, and how did I change? Let's say. So let's start by, when I finished high school, I wanted to become an actress. That was my first thing, or a musician. And I tried. So my first year in university, I studied drama. And then I realized I needed a change, because it was like my favorite hobby back then. But I didn't want to be an actress full time. So that was my first change in my career. And when I realized I wanted to, I still didn't know exactly what, but I wanted to be around people. That was my, and I think it's the common, the common ground in my career is to be around people, doing different things, but always around people and with teams and for people, let's say. So that's when I decided to go for psychology, which was the broad career I could choose to work with people. Still didn't know exactly what. And when I was finishing university, I started volunteering in different initiatives. And then I decided I wanted to become a change maker by designing social public policy. So I was really, I burned for poverty topics at that point. And so I was volunteering for different initiatives, and I started working in Buenos Aires city government as a public policy designer for urban planning, mainly in slums. And that was an amazing school for me, where I learned a lot on different levels, mainly like on human design, public policy, which was, it was a really, really good career. But I wanted to learn more about innovation at that time, about how to bring new models and new strategies for poverty alleviation. And that's when I met the field of social innovation. And through Amani,
I think the internet just hung up a little bit, Milagro. Let's see if we can get it back. So let's see. Are you, oops, now she's gone. Well, let's see that we have her joining again. Just when it got really interesting how the chains were ongoing. Ah, here she comes again.
I'm sorry about
back
that.
Again. Back again.
Where was I when I
no
lost
problem.
you?
I lost you where you got more and more interested in the social innovation field in Amani.
So, so I would say that when I
you
get
did Amani in Brazil or Kenya?
In Kenya, I moved to Nairobi, and it was an amazing experience. I feel like studying is my favorite break. I'll say, like when I'm of doing something. In Kenya for like 8 or 10 more months working for a Canadian fund. And it was my first international experience, like working in an international environment. And I started, I loved it. And I knew I wanted to go back there at some point, but I had to go back to Argentina back then. So I went back to Argentina and worked again in public policy for a couple of months. And then I was tired about that because public policy has many different challenges, and mainly in countries like Argentina, where corruption is a big topic, was very, very hard for me to work there. And that's when I started working at Endeavours, which is a company builder for social enterprises in Latin America. became a late co-founder of Enjambre, and then started new enterprises, new endeavors, new programs, new initiatives. So that's where kind of my entrepreneurial spirit came to life, let's say. And that was a very, very exciting moment in my career, which
can I just interrupt
yeah.
you for a second on this point, because I think many of the people who search for my help, support, they are thinking of going into an entrepreneurial direction. But if you've never been an entrepreneur, it can be so overwhelming, so dooming. So how was it for you? How did you get the courage or even the knowledge to go into this field?
Well, I was very lucky because I started working at Enjambre, which was the organization I admired the most. And my bosses were the professionals I admired the most. So like, they were my favorite teachers and my colleagues, and I felt so inspired. And then they invited me to join as a partner, as a late co-founder. So for me, it was different. It was not me. I never said I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have my own. I had experiences in the past with small enterprises, mainly in the textile industry. So this was very different. So it was easier because it was like my favorite people in the planet invited me to join their team as a partner. And I had their guidance, their support. Yeah, and then I became the executive director of it. So I was always around these amazing people.
I think this is really a great point to also consider. When you're starting in this direction and you have no previous experience, look out for partners. Don't go for it necessarily alone, because it's very doing. So for me, it's the same way that I started out. In the beginning, it was always with partnerships, looking for other organizations or partners who had already more experience than I had, much more experience than I had, and where I could still learn a lot and where I felt safe. Because I think also in this process of change, make the things as safe as possible. It's already so unsafe because it's so unknown. So when you can make it safer, take all that you get from support, from help, from inspiration, from partnerships.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I wouldn't do it alone. And I would look for people which I admire, which I feel I can learn from, that complement me, which I have fun. Like, days being an entrepreneur can be really, really tough and not so fun and very bureaucratic. And I feel like enjoying those days, enjoying the time at the office, wanting to stay for one more or go for a beer afterwards, like making those days fun, it's fundamental. Because I don't think I would have supported all the things I went through if it wasn't because of that. And even during like during the pandemic was really hard, because I was so used to, well, I guess wasn't like this for many of us, but like my only fun happened in person, like didn't happen that much in the virtual space at that point. So creating those fun moments for us and in the virtual space had taken a lot of my creativity, I'll say, at least in the first months of COVID-19. Yeah.
Definitely. I think this is also a really, really important point, is like, not all the fun and the joy and the motivation and inspiration has to come necessarily only through the things that you do. It also comes through the people who surround you, because let's face it, whether we are employed or we have our own venture, there will be always tasks and always sometimes, long stretches of time which are difficult, where we don't draw the joy, the excitement, the inspiration from what we do in this very moment. We draw it from what we want to achieve next. We draw it from the purpose that we feel, from the mission that we feel, from building up something, even against the challenges. But the joy doesn't always come from the work itself. And so, like you said, you have to look for ways to build it. It doesn't just fall in your laps. It's like you have to actively build this joy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like even a big topic right now for me, because I'm now working at Amani. So I'm part of the global team at Amani, where we are all in different places and in different time zones. And usually we don't have that much time we usually meet, and it's like the only hour we can meet for work. So building those two lines, right? Like, how do we play and work at the same time, so that we keep on doing, is something I need to be conscious about every day and every meeting. And because if not, I get exhausted. I'm always in front of my laptop just having calls about work, and I need to make that decisions consciously somehow.
Consciously, and also to make it, within the team also a priority. It's also part of the work. It's part of the work hours. It's not something that should be only in the evening. It's part of the work because it drives the motivation.
Yeah. But it's harder in the virtual space. I feel like in the office was so much easier, right? Like, hey, let's have a break. Let's go out for lunch. Let's just talk about what I did last night, or gossip about something. I don't know, whatever. That chit chat in the office doesn't happen so easily in the virtual space. And I think that's hard to bring back somehow, that fun times of,
could be a great
we're all
social
learning.
Innovation project. How to have more fun in the virtual space. I feel this is something that many people would, enjoy, having more information or having more inspiration around this, because I think this is the freedom we gain, the freedom to be, in Argentina, in Brazil, wonderful. But I also realized the same thing for myself. It comes at the cost of not being physically together with people, and of especially, people who are more extroverted. They drive from this. They charge their batteries from this. For introverts, perfect thing. But for extroverts or people in the middle, I think we have to rethink a little bit how we organize this kind of work now.
Yeah. And how we don't, because for me, the tricky part is feeling guilty, right? Like, sometimes I have this feeling of like, I'm not working. I'm feeling guilty that I'm not doing something for the work, and just like, and on the other hand, I'm like, why, if I did it before, I had so much fun in the office and I had time to have fun and enjoy the moment. I'm not doing it in the, like, when I'm just alone at home working, and I'm like, and I'm an extrovert, so I need that energy from the outside, and learn from the outside. So definitely, yes.
But that's, I think, such a deep-rooted limiting belief for so many of us, that work has to be somehow painful. If it doesn't hurt, it's not really work. So and I think the same comes to sports or whatever it is. Like, if we have to really suffer, if not, it's not, work. And to reframe this, and to, maybe put this also consciously in your mind. For me, the mantra for this year is, I deserve all the good stuff, just like this, without having these conversations of exchange. Oh, if I do this, I will receive this back. It's just, I deserve the good stuff, and I deserve it in my work. I deserve it in my relationships, and the good stuff is the fun that can come. And you don't have to suffer for it in the first place, that afterwards you receive a little bit of fun in the evening, maybe. It's like, you deserve it throughout all day long. And this is also this, for me, it's always this image which always stays in my head, this image of this oxygen mask, which you're supposed to put on first on yourself when something starts to go downwards. And for me, you know, having fun and knowing that you're a person who needs this fun or interaction with other people, that's your oxygen mask. And whenever you feel like the oxygen level gets low, like mask on first thing, no matter what's happening around.
Yeah, 100%. And also find moments to meet, like with other people. To like 2 weeks ago, I was alone in my apartment in Buenos Aires for like the whole week. And I was like, wait, I've been alone for a very long time. This is not me. Like, I need to find moments where I'm meeting real people. I'm not in COVID anymore. I need to find those people, and because that's what makes me feel good somehow. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So really finding your drivers and going for it and creating it. That's the thing I think in this change stories that we hear, that we experience, you, me, the people I know around, is you have to be the creator. The change that you want, a life that you want, which is constantly changing over time. It doesn't just is handed over exactly in, you know, the fitting way. It's like a dress where you get the raw cut, and then you have to see, you have to adjust, you have to make it a little bit wider on the shoulders, a little bit shorter to fit you perfectly, and to also fit the season that you're in. Maybe it's summer, so you make it shorter. Maybe it's winter, you make it longer. But this is something that sometimes I see the disappointment in people when they say, oh, I made the big change now, but it still doesn't feel right. It's like, yeah, but do you constantly make it right? Do you know, join in and constantly do it, actively create it? Because change is not something that has an end point. It's something that's just the next step on the journey.
Yeah, and it's something like, it's not a one day thing, change. It's like every day a little bit towards something, but it doesn't have a date. It doesn't have like, okay, the day I jump on that plane, or the day I finish this job. It's more than that. It's like a long process, and it's an everyday little thing that gets you towards something that it's also going to change.
Yeah. And for you, because you changed, you know, you changed from public sector to private sector, entrepreneur, you made a lot of shifts. Do you see a common pattern? What happened maybe even inside of you before the change really materialized?
That's a good question. I feel like I was starting to dream about something else. Like I'm a very, my fantasy world is quite big, I'll say. And I'm always thinking about what's next, which is not good, because it's hard for me to stay in the now. But I feel like always it was like that. Like I was starting to think about something else, or something else I wanted to achieve, or something else I was, or a word that I was Googling a lot. So some uncomfortness, let's say, that was the special driver. And also checking at something that gets me excited. Like, I don't know if it's a one word that it's getting me excited, and like now I'm obsessed about nomad lives, and about hosting, and about the host industry and the hospitality industry. So I'm kind of like obsessed with those topics, and it's like, okay, this might take me somewhere. Still don't know exactly what shape it has, but this might be something I'm curious about, and I want to develop something in that space. Still don't know exactly what it is.
Great. But the thing is, well, what I really want to point out is, you said discomfort was your driver of change. And I really want to point this out, because I really want to point out that discomfort is your friend. It's your indicator that, you know, start looking, wake up, open your eyes, don't ignore it. The worst thing is to ignore for a very long time this discomfort. It makes you sick emotionally, it makes you sick physically. So to really befriend this discomfort and say, discomfort is an indicator. It's like this sign, hello, start to look up. And as you said, what is wonderful is you don't have to have the full picture. You just have to have in the beginning the breadcrumbs. I like to read the articles about hospitality. Oh, I like this. It's like, the story of Hansel and Gretel, where they find their path by picking up the breadcrumbs. And it's a little bit like this in the beginning for all of us. It's like just taking the signs. And once you accept the discomfort as a starting point of change and, your friend, you are so much more open for seeing the signs. You're so much more open for seeing the information, receiving it, allowing yourself to receive the information. Because people who resist this discomfort, who resist the change, they don't even allow themselves then to look in other articles than they would usually see for their work, or to talk to other people. So I really like this word, the driver for you was discomfort. To also make it, easier for people to see when you're in a moment of discomfort, that's not your enemy, that's your friend. And also, don't expect to have the full picture. Just expect to see the next little breadcrumb in front of you. See it, get carried away by the inspiration, by the topics. I think that's a beautiful way of showing how for you the change always worked. It's a really beautiful pattern, because it's a pattern of a complete life designer, someone who doesn't have all the answers, who just needs the breadcrumbs and goes after them. And then at one point it makes a beautiful picture, but that can be, quite a while along the road.
Yeah. And it can also be a call for healing. I felt like this week in my therapy session, I was like, this could be this uncomfortness. I was feeling uncomfortable this week. And I was like, maybe I should take care of this, because I should heal this part of myself that is not feeling completely healed. So also it can be a call, an awareness to take care of yourself and to take care of this topic, because there might be something else. So that's also could be a driver. Beautiful. And a calling for healing.
A call for a conversation with yourself. Beautiful. Totally. And what would you say was your biggest, let's say it, gift or strength on all this journey, that on the path you were on?
I would say I'm really fast at creating new homes. So like I'm quite adaptable to different environments. So it was easier for me to arrive in a new place, make it a new study, make it a new city, a new group of friends, and make it home immediately. So I'll say I have the ability to take home with me quite easily and create new homes wherever I go. And that was my main strength, because I never felt as I didn't belong somehow. Like I always felt I was again at home and again at home, though I've been moving a lot for the past 10 years. But I always arrive and felt at home again and again. So I'd say that's a strength.
So you will bring also this biggest strength that you have to the new topics, because if you're good at this, of course you're around this topic of hospitality and creating a space for other people. You're exactly taking the strength to this next step, to this next level, even if you have no clarity about how it looks, but you know that your strength is in it. And this is already, I think, a big key that something will succeed.
That would be great if it succeeds, but at least like I want to try it out, because it's there already. It's there. It's in my desire already, doing something around this topic. Exactly, I don't know what, but like, yeah, it's in my desire, and of course it is in my strength. It is in the way I see the world, and the way I want to create change also. I'll say.
So this will be now the next step. When you said you look forward, this will be the next steps for you to look into this area, to explore.
Yeah, and I'm in an amazing space because like I am the global community manager at Amani Institute, which has a lot of these components, right? Of
Yes.
Hosting, getting people together, and so it is an amazing space to try out different strategies and things, and so I'm happy. I'm happy with this new challenge.
Yeah, great. Happy, and at the same time, you said there are still many questions, so there are still a lot of questions. But I mean, as you shared from your past, having a lot of questions never hindered you from moving on, never hindered you from trying out the things. So it's just, you know, your company that you have in the beginning, the questions. And it's also, it's part of the pattern, because you're someone who makes the leap of faith quite early, who starts to take action quite early, which is a wonderful thing, which is, you know, against what the majority of people are doing, because they want to have it very clearly outlined before they do the steps. Whereas you're getting the clarity through the exploration, which is a great thing. So it's really within your pattern.
Yeah, which it doesn't give you always answers, but gives you more information to work with. I'll say, like, I jump quite fast from one thing to the other, and that gives me more information, but not always a right answer, just more information for me to work with, more questions. And
but one really important thing for me, and this was a huge learning for me, was understanding it's not the right thing is also an answer, and a very important one. Understanding it's not working out, it's also an answer, and a very important one. So sometimes we don't have to, we can work our way forward through having the right answers, but sometimes we work forward having the knowledge of what is not right, what doesn't work, what doesn't fit. And by this, we move equally fast often.
Yeah, but it's also really hard to hear to that answer. So for me, it's really hard when I meet, and I have many of those, like, this is not the correct answer, or not the correct way, or again, not happy in this space, or it's hard for me. Like, it's something I am working with, right? Like okay, this was not okay, and nothing happens. Like, it's just that doesn't say I'm stupid, because I start with I'm stupid. How didn't I listen to this, or how didn't I recognize this before? Why did I stay so long in this, whatever it is? And maybe it's not about that. It's just like, I did it because I thought it was the best for me, and it was not. And I just discovered a new thing.
Yes, and it also brings you back to this topic of allowing yourself to play, allowing yourself to have fun, because this is nothing else than playing with the options, playing with the experiments, and giving yourself the self-permission in your work day, but also in the rest that you're doing, that it's just around the play, around the experiment. It can work, it cannot work, but it's giving yourself the credit and the permission.
Yeah, 100%. Totally.
Beautiful. I think we are so deep in the conversation. I said, let's connect this talk 20 minutes, and now we're already 40 minutes in. So before we conclude it, your number one tip for someone who feels stuck right now in their life, what would you give them as your number one advice?
So I'm going to speak from my extrovert side, and it's meet a lot of people that are different, that give you a different information about you and about the world, like a different point of view about the world, because I feel that helps you change perspective somehow, and change the way you're looking at yourself, your life, and the options you have, and the world entirely. If you're not an extrovert, I would say it's watch different movies, read different books, something that really gets you out of your own perspective and gets to see, like, you get to see the world from a different perspective, different eyes. So for me, it was always like that. Like when I started change, this idea of like studying something, right, in my change paths, it was about that at the end. Because when I did Amani, it was about meeting different people with different backgrounds from different places. When I did my master's in Stockholm, it was also about that, like moving to a different city, making new friends. In Stockholm, in a very different environment, from a very different environment where I came from, with different point of view. And that was somehow what gave me clarity of where I was and what I was going, where I was going next. So I'll say that's my number one tip.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing this. And thank you so much for sharing your story and for showing, especially that, you know, change is not linear. Change doesn't have an end point. Change can be driven by discomfort, and it's a wonderful driver. And discomfort can bring so many things to you. So be mindful when you're in this moment of change. Not all the feelings that feel difficult or hard are feelings that you should, you know, put away or ignore.
Oh, I lost your sound. Oh, there you are.
Okay. So that's my advice, that be mindful, listen to yourself, and just embark on the journey through connecting to other people. That's the first step, and that's a wonderful step. That brings really a lot of richness. So I wish everyone to start 2023 with this richness. And thanks so much, Milagro, for sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
All the best, a wonderful start. And everyone, I will see you for more interviews here very soon. Okay.
Thank you very, very much, Yvonne. Bye. Have a beautiful 2023.
Bye.
Bye-bye.